We're going to do this video unscripted real quick, so I might ramble a bit, but basically this is going to be the new movement tech. We're first going to discuss the issue with dashing, and we're going to discuss the issue with walking, and then get into how this technique can solve those two issues. Although it doesn't necessarily mean it's better than dashing or walking, but it's a new option you could get that could be better than dashing and walking in certain circumstances. So the problem with dashing is that it leaves you vulnerable for a long time. But the benefit of dashing is that you get access to your burst options. So in dashing, I could do something like a dash attack. I could do a run up jab, or run up tilt. And since I transitioned to my run, I could do a pivot F tilt, right? And we're going to be focusing on pivot F tilt a little bit more, since I think pivot F tilt is what benefits the most from this technique. Normally, when I dash, I'm vulnerable for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And on the 16th frame, I could shield. So the issue with this, obviously I'm vulnerable for these 3 blocks. So 3 blocks I'm vulnerable where I cannot shield. And the Shulk can do something like an F tilt, a down tilt, a dash attack. He could do a lot of different things to hit me before, my shield comes out. And we do have, dashing with shield, which is useful, but it still doesn't necessarily solve the issue of being vulnerable and having a blind spot right here. If I want to approach with like a jab, F tilt, or up tilt, and the blind spot is this. So anything before this jab is my blind spot. That's where I could get hit because I can't shield and I don't have an attack active. This can't be solved with dash attack, but sometimes you would rather have, a down tilt or an F tilt instead of a dash attack. An F tilt because it kills, and a down tilt because it combos, or an up tilt because it combos, or a jab for safer jab pressure instead of a dash attack, right? So you can't really cover that option with anything because it's your blind spot, right? My dash attack starts right there. But it's kind of a blind spot if I want to go for a jab or a tilt and I can't shield, so I'm vulnerable. The benefit of dashing is obviously I get access to my burst options, but I also get access to a pivot F tilt. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So on frame 17 is when I could pivot F tilt, but look how vulnerable I am until the F tilt comes out. So I'm vulnerable for 4 blocks. I'm basically right in front of Shulk. He probably jab and he'll hit me. He could down tilt, he could F tilt, he could probably do short hop fair. He could do a lot of different things to hit me, and I can't do anything about it, right? Until my pivot F tilt comes out. So at this distance, it's not beneficial to use pivot F tilt. Pivot F tilt will only be beneficial around like this distance, right? Where he can't really do too much to me. Or if I think the Shulk is gonna dash back, then pivot F tilt can catch him retreating. But the issue is we're vulnerable for a long time, so we can't use it at this distance. So why not just walk? Because walking, you could shield at any time during this. The issue with walking is that it's slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. You get 38 or like 39. Yeah, around like 39. So it takes me about 39 frames to reach him. It's a pretty slow option. But I have access to shield. I don't have access to a pivot F tilt because I'm not in my run and I can't transition to the run. So walking doesn't solve that issue either. So the problem with walking is that I don't have access to burst options and it takes me longer to reach my opponent. The benefit of walking is that I could shield from an earlier distance, so I'm not as vulnerable. The problem with dashing is that I can't shield at an earlier distance, so I'm vulnerable. But I have access to all my burst options and reach the opponent faster. This technique, it'll reach my opponent slower than a dash, but faster than a walk. And it'll give me access to a shield at an earlier distance, leaving me not very vulnerable, right? I'll show it off real quick. It's this. So at first I always thought this technique was useless, but after labbing it more, I realized this technique actually might be pretty useful for max. So during the 2nd to 6th frame of your dash back, you can dash back again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th frame will be next. I can dash back. And this gives me access to a shield at this distance. That distance and anything else. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So instead of having to shield at any distance, it's like a walk where I could shield at any time I want. If I see the Shulk move, and I think he's going to throw out an attack, I could shield during any of these points, unlike a dash. And I can even combine this with dashing with shield. So I could get a shield very early. At that distance I could shield, which basically lets me shield at any range right here. Now here's the benefit of this. So right now, I've shown that I could shield just like walking, but that's not what makes this really good. What makes this really good is that I have access to a burst option since I get into my run animation, and that specific burst option is pivot F tilt. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I could start my pivot F tilt from right here. So from that second block, I could start my pivot F tilt. Shulk can't F tilt me, he can't down tilt me, he can't short hop fair. So I'm very safe on this, and I could reach him. And I could vary the distance. So that was like the shortest one I could get. But I could do it this early and get like a pivot F tilt. Let me see, maybe around right here. Yeah, I get a pivot F tilt around right there. So it gives me access to the big burst pivot F tilt, which reaches him faster than a walk would, while giving me access to shield in case I'm like, oh, the Shulk jumped or the Shulk dashed. I still have access to my shield while still having access to my burst option and pivot F tilt. So normally I can't use a pivot F tilt at this range, but by using a micro dash, I can use it at this range. You could also vary the distance you go by angling your stick like slightly up and diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I can start my pivot F tilt as early as right here. Right? And that's by angling my C stick. Not my C stick, that's by angling the control stick up and diagonal. There's other things that you could do with this, but I felt like this was the most important thing for Mac, since you have access to a burst option unlike walk and have access to shield unlike dash, so it's like in between those two options.